don't listen to this alone in the dark. I wasn't supposed to be there that late, but the office had been behind all week, and I told my manager I'd stay after to finish the reports. So by the time everyone else left, and the lights on the other floors started shutting off one by one, I was still at my desk, with just the hum of the ceiling vents and the occasional click from the old printer down the hall. And it felt normal at first, like any other quiet night where the building settles and you can hear things you don't usually notice during the day, like the soft ticking inside the walls and the faint creak of the glass panels shifting when the temperature drops. And I remember leaning back in my chair and thinking how empty it felt, how the silence had weight to it, but not in a bad way, just different, like the building was breathing slower. And I kept working, typing, scrolling, trying not to think about how I was the only one left on the entire floor. I think the first thing that felt off was the sound from the hallway outside my office. Just a single step, like a shoe pressing lightly against the carpet and then lifting again. And I stopped typing because I thought maybe security had come up, or someone forgot something and came back. So I turned my chair slightly and listened, waiting for another step or a voice or anything. But it didn't happen right away, and I told myself I probably imagined it, that it was just the building settling again. So I turned back to my screen and kept working. But then it happened again. Another step, slower this time, like it was placed carefully, and I felt it in my chest more than I heard it, like something in me reacted before my brain did, and I sat still, staring at the edge of my monitor, trying to decide if I should get up and check. "Hello?" I said it louder than I meant to, and my voice sounded wrong in the empty space, like it didn't belong there, and it echoed just enough to make me regret saying anything at all. And for a few seconds there was nothing, just that same low hum from the vents. But then I heard it again, closer this time, just outside my office door. A slow step, followed by something dragging lightly behind it, like fabric brushing the floor or something heavier that didn't lift all the way. And my stomach dropped because I knew then that it wasn't just a random noise. It was something moving. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back without letting it scrape too loud against the floor. And I moved toward the door, each step feeling heavier than it should, like I was walking into something I didn't understand. And I reached for the handle, but stopped just short of touching it, because the sound on the other side had changed. It wasn't stepping anymore. It was just there, right outside, completely still. And I could feel it somehow, like the space beyond the door was occupied in a way that wasn't normal. And I held my breath, waiting for any kind of movement or sound. "Is someone there?" I tried again, softer this time. And the second the words left my mouth, something on the other side of the door shifted. Not a step, not a movement I could recognize, just a subtle change in presence, like it leaned closer without actually touching the door. And then I heard it, a low sound that didn't sound like breathing, but also wasn't anything mechanical, something uneven and deep, like air being forced through something that wasn't shaped right. And I froze, my hand still hovering inches from the handle. I don't know why I opened the door. I just did, slowly, carefully, pulling it toward me just enough to see into the hallway. And at first it looked empty, the overhead lights still on, the long stretch of carpet leading to the elevators completely clear. And I almost felt relief, like I had just scared myself for no reason. But then I noticed something near the far end, something that didn't match the rest of the hallway, something darker than the shadows around it, and it wasn't moving. It was just there, low to the ground, stretched out in a way that didn't make sense, like it was too long for the space it occupied. I stepped out into the hallway without thinking, taking one slow step forward. And as I did, the thing at the end of the hall shifted slightly, just enough for me to realize it wasn't part of the environment. It was something alive, something aware, and it lifted part of itself off the ground, Not all the way, just enough to change its shape. And I saw then that it had limbs, but they weren't positioned right. They bent in places that didn't line up with any body I understood. And the way it held itself made it look like it was both crouching and stretching at the same time. No, no, no. I said it under my breath, already stepping back, already feeling the urge to get away, and that's when it reacted. Not by rushing or making any sudden movement, but by slowly turning toward me, like it had been waiting for me to notice it. And as it did, I saw its face, or what should have been a face. But it didn't have features the way a face should. It was smooth in some places, stretched in others, and where its eyes should have been, there were two dark openings that didn't reflect the light. They just absorbed it, and it tilted its head slightly, like it was studying me. The sound it made then was louder, deeper, a low guttural rasp that filled the hallway and pressed into my chest. And I felt it more than I heard it, like it was inside me instead of outside. And I stumbled back into my office, slamming the door shut without thinking and locking it immediately, my hands shaking so badly I almost missed the latch. And I backed away from the door, staring at it, waiting for it to move, to shake, to show any sign that it was trying to get in, but it didn't. For a few seconds, there was nothing, just silence again. And I thought maybe it hadn't followed. Maybe it stayed at the end of the hall. Maybe I still had time to figure out what to do. But then I heard it, right on the other side of the door. Not footsteps, not movement, just that same presence, closer than before. And then the sound came again, that low, uneven breathing, or whatever it was, right against the door. And I could feel it through the wood, like something heavy leaning into it without actually touching it.
"Stay back!"
I yelled without thinking, my voice breaking. In a second I said it, the sound on the other side changed. Not louder, not more aggressive, just different. Like it understood what I said and responded in its own way. A slow, dragging exhale that scraped against the surface of the door. And I realized then that it wasn't trying to break in. It didn't need to. It was already in control of the space. I looked around the office, trying to find another way out, a window, another door, anything. But there was nothing, just the single entrance I had come through and the large glass panel that looked out into the hallway. And I turned toward it slowly, already knowing what I was going to see. And it was there, right on the other side of the glass, closer than it had been before, its body pressed low, its limbs spread out in a way that made it look wider than it should have been, and its head tilted again, those dark openings fixed directly on me. It didn't move fast. It didn't lunge or strike. It just stayed there, watching. And every time I shifted, every time I tried to move away from it, it adjusted slightly, matching me, keeping itself directly in front of me no matter where I went in the room. And I realized I couldn't avoid it. I couldn't break its line of sight. It was always there, always watching, always aware. "What do you want?" I whispered, not expecting an answer, and it didn't give one. Not in words, but the sound it made changed again, softer this time, almost quiet, like it was breathing slower, like it was settling in. And that's when I understood that it wasn't here to chase me or attack me. It was here to stay. I tried the door again, unlocking it slowly, thinking maybe I could make a run for the stairwell. Maybe I could get out if I moved fast enough. And I pulled it open just a crack, just enough to see into the hallway. And it wasn't there anymore. The space outside was empty again, completely still. And for a second I felt hope. Real hope. Like maybe it had moved on. Maybe I had a chance. I stepped out, keeping low, moving as quietly as I could toward the elevators. My heart pounding so loud I was sure it would give me away. And I made it halfway down the hall before I heard it again. Not behind me, not in front of me, but above me. A slow dragging sound across the ceiling, like something heavy was pulling itself along just out of sight. And I looked up slowly, my whole body locking in place. It was there, spread across the ceiling, its limbs pressed flat against it, its body stretched out in a way that let it move without dropping, and its head turned down toward me, those dark openings fixed on me again. And it let out that same low, guttural rasp, louder now, filling the entire hallway. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I just stood there, staring up at it as it began to lower itself, slowly, carefully, its limbs extending down the walls, reaching toward the floor, surrounding me without touching me. And I realized then that there was nowhere left to go. No direction I could move that it wasn't already covering. "Please." I said it without knowing why, and it didn't respond. Not the way I wanted it to. It just came closer, inch by inch, until it was right in front of me, close enough that I could feel the air change around it, cold and heavy, pressing against my skin. I don't remember trying to run after that. I don't remember making a decision. I just remember the feeling of it being everywhere at once, in front of me, above me, around me, and the sound of that breathing filling my head until it was the only thing I could hear. If you're listening to this, it's because you think you're alone right now, sitting somewhere quiet, maybe hearing small sounds around you and telling yourself they're nothing. But it doesn't follow noise, it follows awareness. And the moment you start thinking about it, the moment you start listening for it, it knows where you are. If you have a horror story of your own, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. You never know, the next story could be yours. Subscribe to The Vault so you don't miss what comes next.